Hey, welcome back to the FBC. Words is hard, Glen.
Words is hard.
Words is hard. No. FBC Podcast. Hey, we're glad you're joining us.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, see what I did there?
I'm like, geez.
Ryan's trying to start us over. I'm like, come on, man, play into it. Words is hard, Glen.
Words is hard. And that was the point on Sunday.
Yeah. Hey, we are chatting with our friend Lucas and going to recap kind of Sunday's sermon and get into a little bit of Lucas's story and some of the stuff that Lucas has been up to. But Lucas, you get to weigh in on the Sunday sermon. So
absolutely, I'm ready.
Good.
I'm ready for words.
Right.
Hopefully.
Yeah. This is a very famous passage in James. Most people know this passage, and yet we all struggle with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what he says. He says we all struggle with it, which is good to just put it in that context.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the fascinating things you were talking about, I mean, obviously it starts with this idea of teachers are held to a higher standard. Guys like you and I who teach things and honestly, some of the stuff that you're stepping into right now, right? We know that, people are going to look at our lives and call out hypocrisy. But also sometimes we've got to be very careful about what we say, that our content is true, that we are faithful to the scriptures and faithful to the character of God. How do you protect that in your life, Glenn? How do you kind of be sure that you're where you need to be in that?
Well, I think it helps to just be reminded of that we do take it seriously. And I mean, the classic things. You got to approach this stuff with prayer. You got to approach it with humility. You've got to approach it with God's word. And the thing that's always been helpful to me is, especially as a preacher, is it's not about me.
Yeah.
You know, it's about God's word. Our number one responsibility is to teach God's word. So honestly, if it becomes too much about me or something like that, then, you know, that's a sign that you're a little bit off base. But...
Yeah. Last week when I was out on the lawn and I was preaching through James before that, I was saying, if you don't like what I'm saying right now, I think you don't like what James is saying right now. You don't like what God's word says right now. Yeah. As you've had to present information along the way, how do you process the responsibility that goes along with that, Lucas?
I think words are very important, but I also believe that what you're saying is being a teacher. I think of it as opportunity to be held to a higher standard.
Yeah.
And so I look for avenues or ways to help shape, mold character. And so when I say something, or when I say like, hey, to do this, you need to be healthy. And if I'm eating an Oreo cookie behind the couch, that might not be the best way. You just got to be a man of your word, and you demonstrate by your habits, with the things that you do and how you live every day. So if I were to kind of tell you like, hey, you know, Pastor Steve, I really think that you should maybe be walking more. But then you see me riding an electric scooter everywhere. And like, hey, Lucas, what are you doing? So I think it's a great opportunity. I love finding avenues and ways to hold me to a higher standard, and then I surround myself with people that also do that. So that's kind of my way to go.
And Lucas, you teach kindergarten through 8th grade.
Yes.
Talk about people that are going to hold you to a higher standard.
Oh,
those little ones are listening to every word, watching everything, huh?
They see me outside. First, they don't realize that teachers don't live on campus.
Yeah, right.
And then when they see me, they're like, oh, wow, I have to, and I get to, and I'm just going to get to that, be held to a higher standard. Not only just the children that I teach, but my son and my daughter. My daughter, she's 5. And we have a saying in our house, it's called have to versus get to. And those are just words that you could use. But if you say, I have to go pick up my kids, or I have to go preach versus I get to, what a kind of opportunity. And so just the other day, I said something about, I have to go do something. And my 5-year-old daughter, she comes up to me and she goes, Dad, you mean you get to? Said, yes.
Thank you, sweetheart.
Yeah, it's like, I love you and I cherish every moment that you bring.
You're highlighting that second point that Glenn made, which is the idea that words have power. Like, and they really do. What was the illustration used that I had never heard before? Was that the tongue is the only muscle
that only
in the
muscle
body that never gets
the
tired.
tongue and the heart.
Yeah,
they don't get tired.
Yeah, and the truth of the matter is that we talk. In fact, some of us talk more than others. Obviously.
I'm a testament to that.
Yeah, but we talk all day long, and we know that every time we open our mouth, we're either going to build somebody up or tear them down. We're going to transfer information, or we're going to hold it back, you know? So how do you, when you're thinking through those conversations, especially when you walk into hard conversations, I'll just say, you know, how do you get your mind right? It's nice to have a kid call you out on it, but
absolutely.
How do you get your mind right to be speaking truth in love, but even encouragement and, you know, life change? I guess I was sort of thinking, even as it relates to teachers, there's this idea that the student or the person that I'm teaching is the most important person in this equation, right? The content and the person. How do you make sure you have the right words in those moments?
Are you asking me or?
It doesn't matter.
You go.
Well, I
You go.
got a bunch.
Yeah,
you
We're
go.
going to find out that I also have that muscle that does not get tired.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot. And so I also talk very fast because I get so excited.
You got a lot
I'm
of-
so passionate about the things that we're going to talk about. But one thing that I think is the basis for all of it that I've learned over the past couple of years is that diving into the word constantly is a good reminder to set myself up. So in the morning, if I feel myself getting a little off kilter, then I could read the Bible, and that kind of sets me straight. In doing that, also, I remember in my junior year, I was in the hallways of high school, and I said I wanted to be a runner, and one of the coaches said, "You will never be a runner." And so just to let you know how important those words are, like I remember the exact space, setting, time, date, person, face, people I was around when those words were said. And those words kind of transformed me and maybe motivated me in a negative way to kind of be where I am now. I'm very grateful for those words. But who in your life are you saying these words to that they might hold on to? And that was, I don't know, 20 years later. So for me, I'm very lucky and fortunate that I get to be in front of children. And the words that I speak, might not see it now, but 20 years from now, you could shape and mold them into something, some amazing person, not just me, their parents, the other faculty, the church, and the Bible. So how I ground myself first would be my ground wire would be plugged into the Bible. Then it would be also plugged into the people that I hang out with, because I'm not saying that you are, but let's say you are a pretty negative person, then I'm probably going to be negative. I'm going to put that on someone else. So hang out with positive people. You are who you hang out with. So that's how I ground myself. And knowing that words they last forever.
Well, and you even talk about the people that you hang out with. Words are contagious.
Yes.
Right? I mean, obviously, we live in a society now that when you think about profanity, like it's just laced in everything. And you watch people in certain contexts, and you're like, and then all of a sudden, it's natural to let a word slip out that you're like, I wouldn't say that anywhere else in my entire existence. Why all of a sudden am I saying? Well, it's because of the people that you're hanging out with and the way that they're using words.
Yeah, where I used to work, I
Yeah.
would talk in a way that potentially was you being around gentlemen all the time, a majority of the time, and you'd be saying stuff, and I catch myself constantly. My wife would give me 24 hours to recover at home, because definitely a different talk from that scenario versus a talk with my children. And so you are and you rub off. It rubs off on you. But what a great opportunity for you to be a light for those people at the same time. I do remember the person that I was working with, and I was like, "Hey, where's Johnny? Oh, he's reading his Bible." I'm like, that weirdo, like reading the Bible every night. But I will never forget that. Johnny, he probably doesn't remember who I am, but I remember Johnny, and he was dedicated. And every night before bed, he was reading his Bible while we were out watching some scary movie, playing pranks on each other.
Yeah.
So
How do you keep track of your words, especially going into hard conversations?
Well, I've really been working on it, of course. And I think just saying less has become a priority for me. And thinking through, okay, how can I be a blessing to this person? How can I, give the words that are going to build them up according to their needs, which is what it says. So you got to know what their needs are. And again, I wrestle with this. So, but I think that's the biggest one for me, is to try to think through, one, listen more, speak less, and really think through what can I do to encourage the other person, build them up according to their needs, which is what it says in Ephesians.
Yeah, absolutely. And that directs the course of our life, right? Our words and how we continue to live out our lives. Words what was the Henry Ford quote that you gave earlier?
Oh, and if you think you can or you think you can't, you are right.
Yeah.
And that was come up because of his Proverbs 18:21 and doing a little, and I would always think that was from Henry Ford, but in reality it came 2,000 years.
Yeah, right. From another wise guy. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, absolutely. But there's this layer of the way that we speak about ourselves, about others, tends to, they call it self-fulfilling prophecy. Like there's this idea that we speak certain things, and honestly, it heads us in a direction towards either success, failure, good results, or poor results, right?
how do you two get along with the hard right, is what we call it in our family? Making the hard decision or making the right decision no matter how hard it is. And there's sometimes when people come up to me and ask me a question and I could be honest with them or I can tell them what they want.
Yeah.
How do you two, and this is just personal for me, is one time you had told me about tightening a faucet. So like maybe that was when someone was not taking advice, or you give them what they need, but you might not give them as much each time. But potentially if, just give an example of if I was making a bad decision, and you knew that I needed to hear the hard words, how do you two go about that?
Mhm.
I think we all struggle with this for a lifetime, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I was just having a conversation this last week while on vacation. Like, how do you say to the people you love the most the thing that they need to hear that like, if I don't say this right, it's not going to be received. Like, I guess I filter everything through the actual possibility or likelihood of change that will come from the way that I say it. And sometimes that's a million drips. Sometimes it's like a drop at a time, a drop at a time, a drop at a time. But sometimes there's a teachable moment, or there's just a consequence that we're all about to face because of this. And it's like, I have a good example of a guy who, this is sort of health related too. I remember as a pastor, I showed up in the hospital. He had had a heart attack. He was overweight. He had struggled, whatever. And we had this conversation about his health. That guy got on a bicycle after that and lost, probably 60 pounds, and fitness became a part of his life. Well, he was in a unique position to hear that at that moment in order to make a life change. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But if you're out at dinner and somebody's ordering the chocolate lava cake, and you're saying, I don't think you should, or it's not going to work in that moment, So I think it's choosing those moments and then really knowing the receptor of the message to word it in such a way.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
Yeah, no, I would say similar to that. And for me, to choose basically what you said, to choose those moments so that you don't overdo it. You don't want to always be, dropping this stuff on people so that they're like, oh, that's what he's always. But then when you have that, especially in a relationship moment, to really speak the hard truth, and you slow down and you look them in the eye and you say that, then whether they're ready to hear it or not, they receive it from you because they know you love them. They know you're there for them. You're not just talking, that this is a big moment.
Yeah.
So
you ever had that moment where somebody says something to you and you're like, oh, that's really true. Like, I know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
And I respect them for it.
yeah.
yeah.
And that's my hard thing around it is there was a time in my life where I almost wish that people would have said, hey, Lucas, let's get your life together. And so there's some part of me inside that when I see someone else, that I put myself in that situation. But I think what you guys said is ultimately, like, you need to build trust.
Yeah.
Build the relationship.
Yeah,
and
build the
if you say don't eat that lava cake, which I don't think, whatever you got to do to eat, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
But you just have to build that trust in that relationship. And so I think
I've learned to say it more often, though, to say the hard thing, because maybe my natural tendency is to hold back because you just want to please people or whatever. And I think, I have regrets of times where I've not spoken that truth.
I think there's two responses to hard truth. It's that moment where you go, oh, that's true. That's right. I got to do something about it. Or there's, what do you mean?
Yeah.
And realistically, you can, by timing and by relationship, you can tell which of those two you're going to get. And personality traits too, in some ways. There are those of us who are rebellious in nature, and there are those of us who are a little more like, okay, like, tell me what I need to hear and I'll try to apply it and move on. So
James has got a lot about humility.
Oh my
in the next few weeks.
Yeah,
So,
big time. Big time.
anyways.
So words is hard, Glenn.
Yes.
And they make up our lives, and they make up our relationships, and they make up a lot of times our future. In that quote that you sort of use, the message version of that Proverbs 28 verse.
Yeah.
Say it again.
Words kill, words give life. Poison or fruit, you choose.
You choose.
You
Absolutely.
choose is the thing. Yeah.
And we do choose all the time. And some of us are, obviously we're hotheads, or we don't filter as well as we should, and we pay the price for that. But I think we do choose every single time.
But I also found so much hope for me on that message, because Jesus says, out of the overflow of our hearts come our words, and he's the one who gives us a new heart.
Absolutely.
So and molds and shapes our hearts. So
good word. Good words. And we're glad we had that. Hey, Lucas, we're going to get a chance to talk about your story a little bit and some of the things that God's been doing in your life. Tell us a little bit about your story. Like, give us your background, give us your testimony.
Okay.
Just start at the beginning. You were born.
Here's what I want to do this for you. I want to tell you at the end, my goal is like a movie.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, good.
The end picture is the Community Health Project.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
Community Health Project.
Community Health
Hold on to
We're
that.
going to get to that.
Guys,
You're
okay.
going to be fascinated.
Now.
You would want to hear this.
So now that I have the Community Health Project, for me, my story, it could start, I don't know, as a young kid and all the things. I grew up at, it was Temple, Bethel, whatever, Grace Point now. And I grew up, and my parents my mom went to church, my dad went to church, and we would go as a family. The biggest arguments we ever had were on the way to church. And so that still stays true to this day. But when I didn't necessarily, after elementary school, my mom and dad never forced it on me. They're like, you can do what you need to do. And so I kind of fell off away from God. And there was bits and pieces where God would pull me back. Like in college, there was a time where I like collapsed or cried, and I was like, oh, thank you. And then I went away from it again. And then this most recent one for me has been the most life-changing. And so I've made a couple decisions in my life that are the hard right, is what we call them. It's a decision in your life that might not seem like the easy way, but it's the right way. And so it's hard. And one of them was to leave the fire service. So I was a fireman in the city of Lodi, and I worked there for 3.5 years. Awesome people. I had the most amazing staff that I worked with, the most amazing chiefs, everyone in the city of Lodi, fantastic. I just felt something inside of me that I was being more reactive versus preventative. And so with talks with myself, the people I loved, and I didn't know this at the time, but I was praying in these walks that I'd go on, and every single night on shift, I'd go on a 45-minute to an hour walk just outside. I had my radio on me. A lot of times I'd be about a quarter mile away and I had to sprint all the way to the rig. But during those times I was talking with someone I was talking with, and kept telling me, like, you're pulling away from this. Like, oh, you want me to give up? Like, I get to give up the benefits, the awesome schedule. Like, it's just a super well-respected job. And I said, there's something else. And during that time, I kind of stepped away. We moved to Texas. I mean, the story is really long, so I apologize. We moved to Texas. I get to Texas. First time I ever left the fire service. I was there. I was going to open a gym. Contacted a friend of mine. He said, hey, let's help me out, open a gym. Ended up coming back. Long story short, open a gym. And that is where the petri dish of where I really found God. Yeah. And so I can go deeper
in the gym.
In the gym. So
tell us more about that.
Come on.
So in the gym, what I found is during that time, my wife and I were not always financially safe, but we were in a place where we could live and not have to worry about finances in a super
running your own business.
Well, no. No. So that was in the fire service, and she's a CPA.
Oh, okay.
And so when we do that, I felt like I was in a very comfortable spot. Yeah. We weren't living outside our means. Yeah. We were living very comfortably, and I decided to give all that away and then go into my own business and take out a loan and go into a lot of overhead. And I found God by suffering and crying on the floor, or gym floor. And during those moments, it had me rely on God and lean on Him. And then God started sending people to my gym. They started sending me people that were Bible scholars that I didn't know, that were huge church attendees. And I would ask them questions. And then I'd write Bible verses up on the board. And then I'd have clients come in and be like, oh, I love that Bible verse. And then all of a sudden, there was a bunch of people from churches that were coming in and working out, talking about God. And then I had some people that were anti-religion, but they were open to conversations because we were working out and kind of like get some stuff in there. Yeah. And ultimately, it started a men's group in our gym. It started with 3 gentlemen and turned into 15 guys or men. And then it was my wife and all the women clients. They started a Bible study. And then it allowed me, by the Bible study, I would inadvertently lead it. And I would read the Bible, which it forced me to read it and dive into the Word. And then understand it enough where I felt like I can communicate it. Not necessarily know I'm not nowhere near the scholars, but it gave me a chance to learn it in such a way. And then I was able to talk about it in these conversations, and we called it church adjacent because it was church. Like, you could talk about God, but it wasn't church.
Yeah, that's great. I love that.
I think
one of the things you're saying, I think, is super important for anybody listening, is this idea that, like, you have to be a Bible scholar, that you have to have it all together. All you have to do is open the conversation.
Yeah,
and let people talk. They want to talk about what they think about God, what they think about the scriptures, what they think about the principles we see in the scriptures. And frankly, there's times where we're like, if it gets hard, we just go, I don't know. But I'll find out, or I'll look into it, or a little bit more this next week. And I think it's really important that church adjacent ministries happen. It's super important for us. Like, we operate in the church world, but the real ministry work is getting done church adjacent in a lot of places. So.
Well, I feel it's very, for me, it was comforting for someone that when I walk into a church, sometimes I felt like judgment. It wasn't other people, it was
Right.
my own insecurities.
Yeah.
And it was my own ego being like, oh. But the same thing is for gyms.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
if you get
Yeah.
to walk into a gym, you're like, oh wow, like who are these guys?
Uh-huh.
Gals? So it's their own insecurities. So for me, what we do currently is once a month we get together at 5 o'clock on Sunday, and it's once a month, and we do gym workouts and we talk about some part of the Bible. And it's been really great because I've had some people from the church go to the gym for the first time. Some people from the gym want to check out the church.
Yeah.
I've given out Bibles. It's been just it's God's working in such a through movement in such a beautiful way.
Yeah, that's cool. And you've got a passion for that. And I think this is the other like big picture of your story is that God gives us these interests and passions and things that we are just, it could be you're a car mechanic or you like, whatever it is, but he's given you this passion for movement and fitness and health. And he's really sort of burdened your heart for how to use it for his kingdom, right?
Mhm.
Talk about that journey in terms of like where you're at now and some of the things that God is prompting you to do. And
So that's a great question. And it is, burden is such a funny word because I agree. Because I don't know the answer. And I know that there's something there and I can't put my finger on it. And what I had to realize is like, I won't know until whatever. And I have to be okay with it.
in hindsight.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so for me, that's such a comforting place to be where I'm just okay with not knowing
Mhm.
what it's going to be. But with the gym, the ability to start the Junior Land Sharks program and getting kids moving is we started a running program in the elementary schools in Lodi Unified School District. We ended up starting a nonprofit. With that nonprofit, we were able to go to other nonprofits in the area and raise money. And after the race, all the kids got shoes.
Mhm.
And so that was really cool.
And by the way, that race was no joke. How many participants did you
We
have?
had about 400 students.
Yeah,
at-
400
Oh,
elementary
cool.
school kids.
Yes. It was, we had 22 of the 32 schools there, and they each had a minimum of, I don't even know how many people, but it was huge. And I thoroughly enjoyed the race. I didn't like planning all the stuff because it was quite
Yeah,
a big burden, but
Yeah.
it was, for me, the race was just a great opportunity. So in that, we did an 8-week program, and in that 8-week program, we talked about doing the hard thing. We talked about different stories, and we were in the public school, so I couldn't really use scripture and I couldn't use those types of things. And that's why St. Peter became such a beautiful place for me, because I can now use the story of Paul and doing other things to communicate what I want children to kind of see and believe. So I don't know. I kind of went off on a tangent.
No, that's all
So,
good.
so-
That's where God had led you to some of those
Mhm.
incarnations of basically what he was calling you to do. But you're still thinking about other things right now. Some of
Yes.
the ministry stuff that we've talked about
Yes.
that we see as an outpouring of it. This body that we've been given, and I know this can be hard for a lot of people because we deal with like trying to stay healthy all the time. Every time that we make a choice, whether it's based on movement or food or rest, all those things that go along with it. But the truth of the matter is in fact, I was thinking about this just a second ago. One of the early challenges to the faith was called Gnosticism.
Yeah.
And it was this idea of divorcing the
Yes.
spiritual from the physical. And it was one of the things that they came out against right away in the
Yes.
New Testament. And so there's this idea that you're a whole person. And I
Physical
remember
world matters.
yeah, and this was really drilled into me early on in some of my Christian education, was this idea that if you don't take care of your body, you're gonna have a short ministry. Like that's the truth of it. You're just not gonna have the energy, enthusiasm, or the stability or stamina to keep doing ministry. And so I know that's part of what you're thinking about these days is how do you encourage people to stay healthy in such a way that it enables them to continue to do ministry, live life, love their families, walk through all the doors God gives us to walk through.
Well, I think that how I wrap my head around that currently is I used to try to change people.
Mhm.
I used to say, like, this is the right way. And I do not know the right way.
Yeah.
I will, and if I ever come off like I know everything, I'm the first person to tell you I do not know. And if I say something and you correct me, I will gladly accept it. I would love that my ego is now, I can step on it because ego is my biggest enemy.
Yeah.
But how I can do it and what I would love to do and what I feel God calling me to do is somehow communicate this with other people, but not necessarily just telling them, but at showing them. So one of our things is we call it the lighthouse keepers. And so for me, I'm a big believer in God, and Jesus is the true lighthouse. And so when you're in a storm and you need kind of just a little bit of hope, and there's a lighthouse there, and it's our jobs to keep that house lit. And then how do we do that? And that's by our actions, that's by our character, that's by our words, that's by our habits. And how can we do that? First, we need to model it. So for me and my family, my little group of people that I really care about, the rock that I care about everybody, but the rock that I can make the biggest difference in with the generations is my family.
Yeah.
And so I need to do that and be that example for them. And so for me, if I don't want them to be on their phones, I need to not be on my
Yeah,
phones.
right.
So that was in a good friend of mine, Ian, he calls them accountability buddies, which are children. My daughter called me out and said I was on my phone too much. She was 4 at the time. And so I deleted everything. And now
We love her, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Ray Rose, she's the one. She called me out to my wife and let me know that I was on my phone too much. And that was when I was working for my own business and I was trying to promote and always doing stuff. But now I don't think that I have the answers, but I do have a really good blueprint called the Bible, and we all do. And I have learned a lot. And what works for me, I believe, is a blanket statement that can help a lot of people. And that's what the Community Health Project kind of is. And I have this big aspiration, the big dream of kind of helping Lodi be a healthy community.
Yeah.
And how can we do that? One, what a great opportunity the church has to be another lighthouse, not just for faith, but just to be healthy individuals.
Yes.
And so there's a couple things that I think of a lot of time. We were talking about this earlier is we can really dive deep into like what your macros are. You need to have 40%, 20%, and whatever percent.
Yeah, right.
But are you eating like not a smart person?
Yeah.
Are you putting stuff in your mouth that's not good for you? In the Proverbs 18 that you talked about, when I look into it, it talks about how the fruit is a consequence of your words. So the fruit that you produce is the words. So that's the same thing with eating.
Yeah.
And so whatever you eat, whatever you do, if you sit on the couch all day, the product of that is not probably as healthy as someone that might move a little bit.
Yeah, right.
And so I believe with the help of God and a lot of other people, and I plan to bring books, I plan to bring resources and just an open conversation for people to have discussions. And the 3 topics might be something like you are what you eat and drink. And then the other one is move and move often. And then the last one is to really find ways to deal with stress and then prioritize sleep.
Yeah.
So there'll be 3 nights. That's the goal. 3 nights. It's a Monday in August, and we'll have all that stuff. But each one of those nights will be corresponding with a Bible verse that relates to those topics. But we're gonna go on walks around campus here. We're gonna have group discussions. You're gonna be able to ask questions, and I might not have the answer. If you're there and you know the answer, it's open to that. I'm not here to say that I'm the guy. I'm not. But I'm here to kind of guide the conversation, and it might be hard conversations. And I think as long as we pray before and we all kind of leave our egos there, we're going to learn, me included, a lot that we can all be the lighthouse keepers for the community.
Sounds like from the Bible and from each other.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a little bit like AA. Hi, my name's Steve. I like to eat.
Absolutely.
You know, but you know, when you think about remaining healthy, and it's one of those things that for a lot of people can be a taboo topic. I just I have had some experiences with people who get very offended if the church at all talks about the idea that your body needs to be healthy, and you know, it's really hard for some people to deal with.
It is
largely because they have some background issues. They've got some self image issues that go along with that, which this for me has less to do with, you know, the shape of your body or the this, that, or the other thing, but it's about moving. I tell people all the time, you know, Glen knows this. Like I've been on this journey recently. I've already biked probably 16 miles today, and I got probably at least 4 or 5 more to go before I get home. But at the end of the day, I know move it or lose it. And that's true for a 20-year-old, a 40-year-old, a 60-year-old, an 80-year-old, right?
Absolutely. I wholeheartedly agree. I believe that, and you said this plenty of times, is what you kind of do throughout your day is going to either help you fall asleep or it's going to keep you up at night.
Yeah.
And the decisions that we make throughout the day are not only going to affect tomorrow and the next day, but 30 years from now. Yeah. And so my biggest thing when I would run calls where I used to work, and I'd be there and I'd have a lady who was 86 years old. She was top notch. She'd walk around her campus, and then she'd lose hip ability.
Yeah.
Instantly, 2 months later, we're called to her house, and that's we're performing CPR, doing those types of things. But
Because she can't move anymore.
because she can't move anymore,
Yeah.
and how lucky are we
That she was healthy to the
that we
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
like walk, and we get to ride bikes, and we get to do all these things. But I stress this with children: when our bone density, which is just the strength of our bones and everything in our body, peak at 30.
Mhm.
So at 30, I was okay, but I probably could have done better. We all could do a little better.
Mhm.
But ways to do that is just put yourself under load, lift weights. Even something as simple as kids, when they ask me, like, hey, what can I do? Go jump off some rocks. Like, that sounds terrible. It's like terrible by my PE teacher saying, hey, Mr. Garrett said jump off some rock. But putting your body under load is going to, obviously, you're not jumping off 40-foot rocks. You're jumping off the little rocks here at.
I was just going to say, we put them on the welcome terrace and gave them a little spongy landing.
You guys are ahead of the game. But that builds bone density. They hit to 30, they hit the peak bone density. They continue an active lifestyle. When they hit 80, they still have great bone density. They're very strong. And then we don't have this really slow kind of gross is the wrong word, but a way to not feel I'm limping towards the end versus I want to be running at the end. And so the things that you do now at 20 and at 60 are definitely going to affect when you're 80 and 90.
Yeah.
So how can I promote that? And so it's important. So it's for all ages from, I would believe, 16 and up. I think is super important. Young adults, middle school students, high school students. I believed when I was 19 that I knew everything.
Yes.
And so I encourage those 19-year-olds to come and educate me.
Tell us.
And help me. And then I would love to hear it all. So that's my
So this is going to be 3 Monday nights in a row.
3 Monday nights.
And supportive environment, encouraging environment, a little bit of teaching, a little bit of discussion.
Absolutely. I think it's going to come out with, I'm planning to have a QR code. We'll go in there. It will say your why. It will say kind of like a RSVP, let me know how many people are coming, because that way I can kind of plan tables. But I'm going to open it to everybody. So,
Yeah.
And I hope, I'm pretty
Of
sure.
course, no, the church is thrilled to host it, but we would love everybody to be a part of it.
So I personally see it being like a community church adjacent in a church.
Yeah.
But so that's how I envision it, and I just envision it being a great movement ministry.
Yeah.
But just about health. Let's focus on that and let God speak through us in those types of ways.
Yeah. I think you know this, but obviously the church has been all in on upward. And it really is birthed out of that same idea. Like kids today are on screens, and I know if I put them on a soccer team or a basketball team, they got to put down their screens and they got to move their bodies.
Absolutely.
You know,
How do you feel about that, Lucas?
that?
That's one of your things. Screens is one of your things.
Absolutely. And you poke buttons. I don't know how much time you have in this podcast, but I would love to say just a little bit about screens. And you can stop me at any time that you want. I see children, and I have 250 students, and I get to see from pretty much preschool to 8th graders. And I get to see their developmental patterns, and I get to see the way that they move, and I get to see the way that they do certain things. I can tell you what kids play video games or on iPads and iPhones, and the kids that don't.
Yeah.
It's apparent, and this is, and I'm not here to, like I said, advice is the worst. And I'm not telling you to do your thing. Do whatever you want that makes you happy, and your house is different. But I'll tell you my house rules. And you can either agree or disagree, and that's fantastic, because we're in America. And so for us, when we're at restaurants, when we're at grocery stores, when we're out together, there are no phones. There are no screens. My kids are not on iPads.
Yeah.
They're not on video games. And I will tell you that my perspective will change. I've put my foot in my mouth so many times about I'm the youngest and I have 2 older siblings who loved my parenting advice at 19.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But for me, I just want to warn everybody that the screens and the attention span, not just their ability to throw a baseball or to jog or to jump, their ability to pay attention is shortened drastically. I'm not a flashy, and I mean, I have a lot of energy and a lot of passion when I am teaching, but I'm not as passionate as a kid that's screaming and there's colorful lights with cool music going on. And that's what it takes to get some of these kids' attention.
Yeah.
And I want you to be mindful of the amount of time that children and yourself. And so I'd say children
And adults.
but
Yeah.
and this is
It's a constant tension even in our own lives. I think we all face it where we're like, oh yeah, I know this, but
Okay, a challenge, and we're going to do this at the community health bar. So I might turn some people away, and I'm sorry.
That's all right.
We are going to open our phones.
Yeah.
We're going to look at how many hours on average we are a day,
It's painful.
and then we're going to add up those hours throughout the week, and then multiply that by 52, because that's how many weeks are in a year, and you're going to see how much time you've wasted,
Yeah.
and how much more time we could spend in the Word if we just weren't looking at our phones sometimes.
In my defense, I use the Bible app a lot.
That's my
Shows that.
the kids. I will say this: I challenge Mr. Garrett's homework is to play in the mud, get grass stains, pull weeds.
There you go.
Tell your family you love them. Have dinner at the dinner table. That's Mr. Garrett's homework. But
That's
also,
good stuff.
but I gave them a challenge, and I said, "Hey, challenge your parents to put your phones away for a day." And I will tell you how many kids came back and their parents said, "No,
Yeah.
I will not." Or they said, "We will do it, but I will not put my phone away." A lot of, and I understand you need to work from your phone. You're checking emails, you do all that stuff. But I don't know anybody on their deathbad that was like, "Man, I really wish I checked that email and not watch my
If
kid."
only I would have gotten to the next level of Candy Crush Saga.
I think that should be it. Yeah. I will hold my. I'm going to speak less.
Yeah, well,
No way.
I love it. And honestly, the Community Health Project is not only church adjacent, well, it's really church adjacent. It'll be here, but honestly, reaching out to those people. And frankly, health, finances, there's a whole bunch of these church adjacent topics that bring people in because they need help. And they know they need help. And so we're glad to partner with you. We're glad you're
Monday, August 18th is when that starts. So.
Yeah.
And I just want to say too, Lucas, just having known you a little bit in some of this spiritual journey and Kiara as well, I'm so encouraged to see Christ get a hold of your life and start to transform you as to be the man that he created you to be, but also now to give you this passion to use it for his glory. This is great. That's why we invited you on the podcast, because I think a lot of us have a lot to learn, not only in this topic, but what it means to take the things that God's put in us and share them with the world. So thank you for doing that. And a lot of great words.
Thank you very much.
So words is hard.
Words is hard.
Yeah. Moving is hard.
Moving
Sleeping is hard. Sometimes.
But do the hard right thing.
That's
Do
right.
right.
Hard right.
Do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. So that's the moral of the story.
Hey, thanks for joining us on the podcast. We will see y'all next week. God bless.